Hello and welcome to TransByDef. My name is Morgan Fay, and this week's topic is whether or not trans people help reinforce or break gender stereotypes. So, on the face of it, you can say that in some ways that we do help, reinforce the typical female-male stereotypes, especially for us who transition and find ourselves being more femme or more masculine. But for me, I've got a different story that I want to present to you. When I decided to transition, I had an idea of who I was going to be, and that was much more tomboyish, a little more butch than I had actually turned out to be. So I had the notion of where direction I was going to, but where I wound up was I wound up being who I am on the inside. So it's not so much that I transitioned to a particular stereotype or that I was trying to be more feminine. It turns out that what I thought I was going to be, where I thought I was going, it turns out that I was actually more feminine than even that. So it's really about finding ourselves as a person rather than trying to fit into any kind of stereotype. Now, there's still going to be, especially early on in transition, a lot of concern about what's the proper way that a woman does this, what's the proper way that a woman does that, how do they present themselves, because passing, especially in the beginning, is very important for safety concerns, for just being able to interact socially on a non-hostile basis. So there is a lot of focus on trying to blend in, especially early on, but eventually you blend. Eventually that happens. That's something that takes place, at least for me it does, which allows me to really just find who I am, and whether or not that particular aspect that I find might be a little more stereotypical feminine or might break the stereotype, it doesn't matter because I'm trying to be me. Now, on the flip side is that, for over 3 decades before that, I was living a stereotype. In fact, by transitioning, I stopped reinforcing stereotypes and actually broke free. That male persona I had beforehand was something constructed, from what society expected to be, and was very different than myself. I was literally being someone that was typical, was expected for society. So for 30 some odd years, I was reinforcing gender stereotypes. And it's only now that I start to find myself that I'm actually breaking free of that and just being happy with who I am, and whether or not that's going to be labeled as feminine or masculine or something in between. It's not really a concern so much. It's as long as I'm going to be happy with myself, and as long as I can find acceptance in society. So I think as far as trans women go, I think eventually we get to the point where we don't reinforce or break stereotypes anymore so than the typical woman. And there's definitely going to be some of us that are definitely more stereotypical, and some of us that strive to break the stereotypes. I just kind of fall in between and try to be myself. Now, another thing that was brought up by some previous hosts is whether or not we actually reinforce stereotypes of what it is to be transgender or what it is to be a trans woman. And given what those stereotypes are, there's nothing we can do other than to break those stereotypes. Even our most positive stereotypes out there now, positive role models out there now, the one that's got the most name recognition, she still plays a prisoner on a HBO show. So we're still seeing, even as stereotypes become more negative and start to become a little more honest about ourselves, we're still seeing only the more darker, negative aspects of who we are as a people, being portrayed out there. So just living our lives is going to be something that naturally breaks that stereotype of being transgender, because what the average person has in their mind, what the cis person has in their mind, is generally nothing like who we are. The the goal of us is just to be ourselves and just to fit in. We're not trying to create a community. We're not trying to create some sort of underculture or anything like that. We're even different than the rest of the LGB banner, in that we don't have a separate scene that kind of unites us. The only thing that unites us right now is that struggle for equality, that struggle for protections, the struggle for healthcare. But we are as diverse as they come. We cover as wide of a gamut as cisgendered women do. So every single time that we're out there and we're interacting with someone that doesn't have experience with someone who's trans, we are breaking stereotypes which has been formed in their mind from as early on as Rocky Horror Picture Show or whatever else has been presented on the media, which is always either portrays us in a negative or cartoonish light, and usually both. So the very fact that we've decided to transition is breaking of those stereotypes. The very fact that we've decided to take this on to ourselves and to find who we are, whether or not we wind up feminine or someplace else, no matter whether or not we have traits which are stereotypically applied to women or not. The whole purpose, the whole road, the whole journey that we're going through is actually one of self-discovery, and it's to get out of playing a role, to get out of being fake, out of having to be someone we're not, and finding who we are. And wherever that falls, wherever that may lie, so be it. So ultimately, the question of whether or not we reinforce, break stereotypes is, well, yes, because we kind of do both, and ultimately it doesn't matter at all. So that's Morgan Fay signing off for this week of TransByDef. I hope to see you here next week. Have a good day.